And welcome back. A ninth child is confirmed dead as investigators look into whether fireworks or cigarettes caused a tragic house fire in Chicago. Police say there were no working smoke detectors in the home when it went up in flames early Sunday morning. They're now looking at remains of fireworks and smoking materials found on a porch as a family mourns the victims, ranging from 3 months to 16 years old.
I've lost several grandchildren. Marcos has lost several brothers and sisters. This is a tragedy beyond anything I ever dreamed of in my life.
This was Chicago's deadliest fire in over a decade. Untraceable 3D gun blueprints will stay offline for now. A federal judge in Seattle issuing a temporary restraining order against the controversial weapons until the case is resolved. 19 states and Washington, D.C. are suing the State Department after settling with the man who wants to publish them. The states argue that the guns could end up in the hands of convicts and terrorists.
The 9/11 trial in Guantanamo is moving so slow that it has outlasted the judge. Colonel James Pohl is retiring from the military after 38 years of service. He has presided over the terror case involving 5 prisoners accused of planning and aiding in the 9/11 attacks since 2012. The case is bogged down in pretrial hearings due to battles over what evidence can be used against these 5. Propane tanks burst into flames near the Statue of Liberty, forcing thousands to evacuate that island. The 3 100-pound tanks were sparked by a construction accident where a new museum is being built. People boarded ferries to get off the island back to Manhattan before the monument was reopened. 1 worker was hurt but is going to be okay. Well, tears and tributes. Senator Lindsey Graham opens up about the death of his longtime friend, Senator John McCain, the South Carolina Republican vowing to pay tribute to his mentor.
I wish we'd had more time, but it is what it is. They fought, and so we're going to look forward. We're going to give him the send-off he deserves.
Yes.
I have cried a lot, and I am going to try to get over it. And I'm going to speak tomorrow in the Senate. His death is right by mine, and I hope I don't crack up.
All right, McCain will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol Friday. A memorial service will be held at the National Cathedral in Washington Saturday before he is laid to rest at the U.S. Naval Academy on Sunday. Senator Graham will talk more about John McCain's legacy during the 7 o'clock Eastern hour of Fox and Friends. The Queen of Soul getting a royal farewell. Thousands expected to line up and pay their respects to Aretha Franklin today as her hometown of Detroit begins 4 days of memorials. Public viewings are today and tomorrow. A tribute concert will be held on Thursday. A private funeral is set for Friday. The church wants people to line up with pink Cadillacs before the funeral, a nod to her hit Freeway of Love. Franklin died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 76.
Several blockbuster primaries happening in Arizona and Florida. With which races should we be watching when the polls open? Here to break it all down is former Trump campaign pollster Jim McLaughlin. Thank you for joining us this morning. So if we start off here, you can see a number of states, specifically Arizona and Florida. That's where the interest lies today as far as what to watch anyway. So let's start off in Arizona GOP Senate primary, where you say Martha McSally is likely going to come out on top here, right?
Yeah. Latest poll had Martha McSally up by 20 points, but a lot of folks, one of the interesting parts about this is the sad death of John McCain is that her 2 opponents, Kelly Ward and Joe Arpaio, have actually been attacking John McCain and some of his policies before his death on things like immigration and whatnot, and on the Obamacare vote. But Martha McSally has the all-important Donald Trump endorsement in that one.
And as we know, that Donald Trump endorsement does mean a lot. Ron DeSantis, as we saw in Florida's GOP gubernatorial primary, has that as well.
Yep. Early on, Adam Putnam was the quote-unquote establishment favorite. He raised a lot of money, tens of millions of dollars. He's outspent Ron DeSantis by about 2 to 1. But then about a month ago, Donald Trump came in, he campaigned for Ron DeSantis, and now all the polls are showing Ron DeSantis ahead in that one.
Wow, that President Trump endorsement certainly can do a lot, can't it?
No question.
The likely Florida Senate race here, Rick Scott.
Yep. And now, not a lot going on here from the primary. Both Rick Scott and incumbent Democrat Senator Bill Nelson are going to win. But the truth of the matter is, this could decide what happens in the Senate. The Republicans are really excited about the campaign of Rick Scott. He's actually been very energetic. He's run a great campaign, and there was an interesting article yesterday in Politico about how a lot of Democrats aren't happy with the type of campaign that Bill Nelson is running.
What does it say that Bill Nelson has spent roughly $6 million, I believe it is, and Rick Scott spent about $27 million?
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is I don't think money is going to decide this race, and I'll tell you why. Because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer and the liberal special interest groups, they've already reserved about $50 million in airtime. It's not going to be about money. I really think this will be about issues, and it's Florida.
Yeah.
General elections are always close in Florida.
And a lot of people in Florida have already voted.
Yep, no question about it. In the primary, by the way, about 2 million people have already voted with early voting that's going on. More than half. Some people are saying it'll be as much as 60% will actually vote before today when they have the actual primary. Let's head to Florida District 27 GOP primary. What do you see happening here? Yep. Now, this is a race where the Democrats were basically chalking up as a victory. Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, very famous Republican congresswoman, is retiring. But the truth of the matter is the Republicans have a great candidate, Marivita Salazar. She's a very prominent. She grew up in the district. She's a former television reporter and news anchor. They're really excited about her. Now, the Democrats, they thought it was going to be a walk, to be quite honest with you, for Donna Shalala on their side. But the truth of the matter is the Republicans are really excited about the campaign that Marivita Salazar is running. We will certainly watch that and see what happens. And then, as you mentioned here, some of the Democrats. Yep. And Donna Shalala, former HHS secretary for Bill Clinton. People thought it was going to be, she was going to win easily. But the truth of the matter is what happened is the Democrats, there's been another Democrat in that, has spent over $2 million in that. So it's been a very spirited Democratic primary. It's going to be really interesting what happens in that general election. And Oklahoma, the runoff, you said. Yep. There's an Oklahoma runoff today. It's not going to be nearly as exciting as Florida and Arizona. And again, Florida and Arizona, they're going to have a lot to do with, depending upon what happens in these primaries, who controls the Senate come November. But Oklahoma, we still love you. Thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate your time. It is 37 minutes after the hour. A food stamp showdown brewing. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle set to go head-to-head in what's teeing up to be an all-out brawl over a welfare bill. What's at stake for taxpayers?
Is everybody out? I got people inside that are trapped. Hey, come on, man. The house is on fire.
Did you see this? He ran into the flames to save a family. Well, now the heroic cop seen in this heart-stopping video joins us live next to describe the dramatic moments inside the rescue. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss it.